Nobody expected it. Not the fans in the arena. Not the WWE Universe watching at home. And definitely not Trick Williams. SmackDown was supposed to be about rising stars, momentum, and the future. Instead, it became the night Brock Lesnar reminded everyone that the future still has to survive the beast. The show was already buzzing as Trick Williams made his entrance. Confident, charismatic, feeding off the crowd, Trick talked about opportunity, about how SmackDown is now his stage, and how he's done waiting for permission to take what's his. He said the next era of WWE doesn't belong to part-timers or legends living off past glory. It belongs to him. That's when the mood shifted. The arena fell silent for half a second. Then Brock Lesnar's music hit. The reaction was instant chaos. Shock, confusion, fear. Brock Lesnar walked out slowly, no smile, no rush, dressed for a fight. Paul Heyman wasn't even with him. This wasn't business. This was personal. Brock stepped onto SmackDown like a force of nature, eyes locked on the ring, eyes locked on Trick Williams. Trick stood frozen. This wasn't a planned interruption. This wasn't a joke. This was Brock Lesnar. Brock entered the ring without saying a word. He circled Trick once, twice, letting the tension suffocate the arena. Trick tried to keep his composure, raising the mic, attempting to speak, but Brock snatched it from his hand and tossed it aside like it meant nothing. Brock stepped closer, face to face. The size difference alone told a story. The beast incarnate towering over the man who just claimed the future was his. Brock finally spoke, his voice calm, dangerous. "You talk too much." That was all. Trick swallowed hard but refused to back down. He told Brock that this isn't 2015 anymore. That SmackDown doesn't revolve around him. That respect isn't taken by force anymore, it's earned. Trick said Brock represents the past, and the past always gets replaced. That was a mistake. Brock smiled. Then he exploded. A sudden German suplex sent Trick Williams crashing to the mat. The crowd erupted. Brock didn't stop. Another German, then another. Trick tried to crawl away, but Brock dragged him back to his feet like a predator playing with prey. Security rushed the ring. Brock destroyed them. One F5, then another. Bodies everywhere. Officials shouting. The ring descended into chaos. Brock stood in the center, breathing heavily, eyes still locked on Trick, who was barely moving in the corner. Brock lifted Trick again. For a moment, it looked like another F5 was coming. Instead, Brock leaned in close and spoke directly into Trick's ear, loud enough for the camera to catch pieces of it. "This is your warning." Brock dropped him. Brock's music hit again as he stood tall, not celebrating, not posing, just staring at the damage he caused. The message was clear. This wasn't random. This wasn't a one-off appearance. This was Brock Lesnar drawing a line. The commentary team was stunned. They questioned why Brock targeted Trick Williams. Why now? Why SmackDown? And most importantly, what happens next? Backstage, cameras caught officials checking on Trick. He refused help. He pushed trainers away, barely able to stand, rage written across his face. Trick looked straight into the camera and said Brock Lesnar made the biggest mistake of his career. He said fear is temporary, but respect is permanent. And he promised Brock that if he wants the future, he's going to have to fight it. Social media exploded instantly. Fans were divided. Some said Brock was putting Trick in his place. Others said Trick stood tall just by not backing down. But everyone agreed on one thing: this confrontation changed everything. Brock Lesnar confronting Trick Williams wasn't just about dominance. It was about hierarchy. About reminding the locker room that no matter how loud the new generation gets, the beast still hunts. And for Trick Williams, this was no longer about opportunity. This was about survival. Because when Brock Lesnar steps onto SmackDown with purpose, somebody always pays the price. And this time, it might be the future itself. The fallout didn't wait. Even as Trick Williams was being helped backstage, the WWE Universe was still reeling from what had just happened. Social media was exploding. Clips of Brock's assault were everywhere. Fans couldn't stop replaying the German suplexes, the F5, the destruction of SmackDown officials. Every angle, every slow-motion replay made it clear, this wasn't a typical confrontation. Brock Lesnar wasn't just showing up. He was sending a statement. Trick Williams, meanwhile, was backstage, alone, pacing in his locker room. His frustration was evident. He had been on a trajectory, a rise built on talent, charisma, and a growing fanbase. And now Brock Lesnar had crushed him physically, but the fire in Trick's eyes wasn't extinguished. He wasn't cowering. He wasn't broken. If anything, this encounter lit a new kind of determination in him. He tapped into a raw emotion that only comes when someone's legacy is threatened before it's even fully begun. Meanwhile, WWE officials were scrambling. SmackDown needed answers. Security had never seen anything like this. Brock had torn through multiple personnel with barely a glance. It became immediately clear. Lesnar wasn't here for a short segment. He was here to dominate. To remind the locker room, to remind the audience, and to remind Trick Williams himself that when the Beast incarnate comes, chaos follows. The commentators tried to piece it together. The questions were endless. Why now? Why Trick Williams? Was this a message to other rising stars? Or was Brock staking his claim on SmackDown, signaling that the new generation would have to pass through him before they could rise? Fans could speculate all night, but the answer was simple. Brock Lesnar had reminded everyone that fear is real, and survival isn't guaranteed. The next week on SmackDown, the tension was palpable before a single match even started. The arena was buzzing. Every superstar backstage knew this was now Brock's world, whether they wanted it or not. And Trick Williams, he entered with purpose, but with an edge that only comes from being put through the fire. His promos were sharper, his words carried weight. He didn't speak about fear anymore. He spoke about challenge, about defiance, and about proving that the future isn't claimed by brute force alone. Brock Lesnar didn't appear immediately. But the shadow of his presence loomed over every segment. Every superstar who stepped into the ring felt it. Every time Trick cut a promo, fans held their breath, wondering if the music would hit again, and if the Beast would return to finish what he started. The anticipation was electric. WWE had created a story that could dominate SmackDown for weeks, maybe months. Then it happened. A backstage segment was aired where Trick was preparing for a match against another competitor. He was stretching, psyching himself up, talking to his trainer, and just as he took a breath, the camera angle shifted. Brock Lesnar was there, standing silently, eyes locked on Trick. The tension in the room was so thick you could feel it through the screen. No words were exchanged. A single glance was enough to communicate everything: threat, dominance, and warning. Trick swallowed hard, but he didn't flinch. He squared his shoulders, meeting Brock's gaze. This was no longer about surprise. This was about proving something. Brock had made the first move, showing his power and establishing the hierarchy. Trick's response would determine if he could survive in the same world as the Beast. The following week, SmackDown began with Brock finally speaking. Calm, deliberate, and chilling. He addressed the WWE Universe, but every word was directed at Trick. He reminded everyone of his accomplishments. He reminded them that nobody survives the Beast incarnate without consequence. And he left the door open for a confrontation, one that would inevitably lead to a match, or at least a collision that would dominate headlines. Fans began to speculate immediately. Could WWE build a legitimate feud between Brock Lesnar and Trick Williams? Could a rising star survive against someone of Brock's caliber? Analysts weighed in, saying that if Trick could even last a single match with Lesnar, it would elevate him beyond anything else he had done in his career. If he failed, well, failure would be public, brutal, and unforgettable. That's the world Brock Lesnar creates. Every confrontation is high stakes. Every appearance changes the game. The next SmackDown match was a turning point. Trick Williams entered the ring, the tension palpable. Brock didn't appear immediately, but the threat was in every camera angle, in every pause, in every look from the audience. Trick fought with intensity, aggression, and desperation. He delivered moves with fire and determination, almost as if he was fighting not just his opponent, but the looming shadow of Brock Lesnar himself. And then, finally, Brock's music hit. The arena erupted in chaos. Trick's eyes widened. The crowd went insane. Brock Lesnar entered, not running, not charging, just walking, calm, confident, unstoppable. He circled the ring like a predator, letting the tension build, making the audience, and Trick, wait for the inevitable. Trick tried to fight back. He struck Brock with everything he had, but it was clear that this wasn't just a fight. This was a lesson in dominance. Brock absorbed the offense, barely reacting, until he decided the time was right. Then came the first German suplex. The second, the third, each one rattled the ring and the audience. Trick attempted counters, desperation strikes, even high-risk maneuvers, but Brock overpowered him at every turn. In a final moment, Brock delivered the F5. The crowd went silent. The commentators could barely speak. Trick Williams lay in the ring, exhausted, battered, but defiant in spirit. Brock stood over him, signaling clearly, "This isn't personal, it's dominance." It's a warning to Trick, to the locker room, and to the entire WWE universe. The feud was set. Brock Lesnar had made his mark, but Trick Williams had survived the night with his pride intact. WWE now had the makings of one of the most shocking and high-stakes rivalries in recent memory, a collision of experience, power, ambition, and defiance. Every future SmackDown would be colored by this confrontation, and fans everywhere were left asking the same question: can Trick Williams survive the beast, or will Brock Lesnar remind the world why he is the most dangerous force in WWE? The answer remains unknown, but one thing is clear: the landscape of SmackDown has been changed forever. Brock Lesnar has returned, and Trick Williams has been put on notice. Every step, every glance, every promo from here on out carries the weight of inevitability. This feud is only beginning, and the WWE Universe will be watching every single moment.